This was a great idea, D. Brooks Austin,
Yeah.
for those of you that have been with us for the last couple of weeks during this college football playoff run, Brooks joined us a few weeks ago to rave reviews, and he's already posted a Darian Mensah breakdown on his YouTube channel. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe and support Brooks. Brooks agreed to join us because D Money, in a rare instance, had a good idea for today's show, and he decided, let's turn the show over to Brooks and talk about our new star quarterback. So Brooks, I'm really pumped about this because I've seen all the stuff that that you've done on Darian so far. Curious to see if we have any deep cuts here, what new things we're going to learn about Darian.
Yeah, I don't want to get you guys in copyright trouble, so I didn't bring any film. I didn't bring any deep cuts. But boy, do I have some football jargon for you. Boy, do I have some player comps. Boy, do I have some evaluations on one Darian Mensah. By the way, don't know if you guys noticed, but the chat figured out a nickname already. How about the Mensah? I'm kind of feeling that one. I don't know about you guys. Okay. I think it's already time to print the shirts. But here we go. Number one, first and foremost, okay? Very few, I would argue, like very few at all, like none in some football games, of what we call turn downs on tape, okay? Your job as a quarterback, your first and primary job, in my opinion, is to get the ball to the playmaker that the coordinator designed the play to execute to, right? Like, we call a play, it's open, we better throw it. That's your job. Your job is to get that ball to that playmaker that we designed open, right? No turn downs on tape in the 4 or 5 games that I watched him. Honestly, carried it over from Tulane. If you really backtrack my takes on Darian Mensah, you'll find me loving this kid up last offseason. In fact, I know we're a Miami show. I picked Duke to make the playoff this last year because I thought this kid was going to be this. I thought this kid was going to be so good at the quarterback position that they were going to defy all of their roster inefficiencies. Now he's coming to a roster that doesn't have a lot of inefficiencies, and I think he maximizes play calling. I think he maximizes the passing concepts on a consistent basis, okay? Not a lot of turn downs, as we call them, all right? Everybody will talk to you about the physical traits. Those are apparent. You can see that on highlights, right? He's big enough. He's tall enough. He's long enough. The arm talent is really, really elite. All right, I have it right here in my notes. An elite arm talent has an ability to find juice at infinite angles. There's a play I sent Mike Ryan before I broke him down on film, and we showed it on the film study, where his footwork, his lower body mechanics are working outwards on the concept because we have a speed out, and off of that speed out, we have an inward breaking, what we call glance route. All right, but in order to be able to be on time to the speed out, we have to set our feet there, and if we're going to throw the glance, we have to really correct it with our arms. Some of this stuff I don't think Carson Beck would ever dream of doing, but I know Cam Ward would wake up every single day thriving for the opportunity to do so. I think Darian Mensah is like a good blend between the both of them. You'll get like almost pro-style concept reps where he's like real methodical from the pocket, real mental, up top sharp, playing on time, playing ahead of script. And then you'll have moments of freedom where he's out here being a playmaker and letting his talents take over, and they're ample. He has plenty of talent. There's no doubt about that. I have right here with regards to his athleticism, guys, I think he's good enough to extend and create, meaning like good enough to, okay, we're getting rushed now. Let's make that guy miss, get flat, and then keep our eyes downfield. Very similar to that Carson Beck play in 2 minute. Tremendous athlete from that perspective, but I don't think we'll be creating offense off of his legs. You know, he's not a runner, if you will. He's a good enough athlete, though. But here's the most important thing. I'm not a stats guy. I'm a film guy. I look through the film, and then I have Jonathan Williams, my primary producer. He's my stats guy. If I ever need one, based off what I'm seeing on film, I'll ask him. And I'm sitting there watching Duke game after game after game, and I'm like, God dang, they live in fourth down. And, man, is this dude executing over and over and over again on fourth down. So I tell Jonathan, I'm like, hey, check it for me. How was Duke last year on fourth downs? Well, they were 4th in the country in attempts, and they were 6th in the country in conversion rate. They were really, really good. The reason being, this is a guy, he's a dude in the criticals, all right? He's really, really good in those critical moments of the football game, and that's key because he's coming to a place where we assume there's playoff expectations, at least from an outsider. I don't know about you guys, but I assume Miami has playoff expectations moving forward. They're going to be in critical moments and critical games, and he's Stonewall Jackson in those moments. He's really, really good. All right, he's great in those moments. And final point, man, he's an offensive maximizer in the pass game department. I don't think there will ever be any moments when you watch him on Sunday after the game and be like, man, we left yards on tape. There won't be many options like that or many days like that.
All right, Brooks, that was a lot. That was pretty incredible. So I wrote a couple of things down. The arm talent is a debated topic around Mensah. There's some people out there that think that he didn't go to the NFL specifically because he doesn't have the strongest arm. There is a difference between arm talent and arm strength. I guess in terms of arm strength, where would you rate him against the likes of Carson Beck and Cam Ward?
So Cam is a 1%er. I put him like up there with the ones that are like super dynamic throwers of the football, like very, very elite. This is, like you said, it's a great separation of football jargon, arm talent versus arm strength, right? That arm strength discussion comes with like horsepower, your ability to like really drive the ball, your ability to throw it downfield, 65, 70 yards plus, whatever. None of that stuff matters. Don't get me wrong. Like when windows are uber tight, it matters. But we're not throwing into tight windows 40 yards downfield. We throw into tight windows 25 and in. And he's got plenty of arm talent there and arm juice, right? The ball pops. Is he a 100-mile-an-hour like closer? No. But I think he is a natural passer, Mike. And I think that is what is important. Like whether or not we have a lot of horsepower is great and whatnot. But if like we can't throw with timing, if we can't layer the football, if we can't throw a tremendous ball placement, if we don't put it where we want to consistently, none of this stuff really matters. All right. And I think he's a natural passer. There's no doubt about that.
Brooks, I'm sorry. One quick thing on the ability to extend plays real quick. Cam Ward would always extend plays, and 90% of the time it would be still looking upfield. The guy was making reads while he was evading the rare pressure, and the pressure only came because he decided to hold the ball and hope for one of his receivers to find a hole in the coverage. Is Darian Mensah similar in that when he uses his athleticism, he's still looking upfield and making progressions because Cam was a bit of a robot that way?
Correct. Now, I don't think he wants to do that. He'll do that by like happenstance. It's forced to be created. Now, he'll take a little bit more sacks because of it, whereas Cam almost felt willing to play outside of structure. And almost, when I watched Cam, I almost felt like he anticipated when he was going to be rushed or when someone was going to get beat. And it never felt like he bailed pockets that didn't need to be bailed. Almost like got out of them early before guys got beat. It was phenomenal to watch. That's why I think he's such an elite talent, such a specific talent. Mensah has that ability. He will keep his eyes downfield. I don't think he's looking to do that. I think he wants to be surgical from with inside the pocket. The other thing I've noticed about him, guys, is in his recent comments, I think he spoke to Nakos over there on 3. He talked about kind of blending the styles of play that Cam and Carson had. I think he's a very self-aware person. I think he understands where his skill sets are, where his strengths and his weaknesses are. I think that's important as well.
Brooks, I mean, Mike kind of asked a question about extending plays, but just him dealing with pressure in general, right? This is an offensive line that is still, we expect it to be a top group, but you are replacing so much. Both tackles gone. You're going to have a lot of new faces there, new center as well. I mean, pretty much a whole new group. So at Duke, how did he handle pressure when it came? And I mean, look, I would still expect Miami's O-line this year to be better than Duke's last year. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that aspect of his game right now?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, just like I think you're in a playoff perennial conversation, you guys are a perennial conversation for solidified offensive line. Shouldn't be that big of a concern no matter what, because of what your structure and identity as a football organization are. Your head football coach prioritizes it, and you have one of the best offensive line coaches in the sport. So whoever the Jimmies and Joes are, whoever those 5 guys up front are come August, I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm sure they'll be much better. Not much better. They'll be better than whatever Duke had in front of him. He faced a lot of pressure last year. There were a lot of moments where pockets were collapsing, all right, where we have to throw with bodies attached to us, or we have to throw with, hey, as soon as I let this thing loose, I'm going to take a shot. There's a level of toughness with inside the pocket, or quarterback competitiveness from with inside that pocket that he displays on tape and has for several years. So no, I expect him to have very similar comments that Carson Beck had, where it's like, I've kind of got to get used to playing with this much time. I remember hearing Carson say that in August, and I'm like, dude, you just left an offensive line that had 4 NFL offensive linemen at that Georgia unit. Well, he went to one that, had 4 as well and was much, much better in terms of execution. They kept him upright all year long.
Brooks, when you watch Miami's offense over the course of the year, you're watching on the coach's cam. You're not just seeing what Miami's doing. You're seeing how teams play Miami. Just from me watching the TV copy, watching in the stadium, it felt like really after the FSU game, teams bracketed Malachi Toney and did not respect Miami's ability to get down the field, whether it was because of Beck or I think really a lot of it had to do with the fact that we just didn't have great downfield receivers, probably a combination of, but it felt like that watching it from the TV copy and from the stands. Is that something you saw when you watched the coach's tape as far as how teams played us, and what will Darian Mensah and the receiving talent that Miami's bringing in be able to do to maybe change that calculation?
So 2 things. Let's talk the bracket comment about Malachi. The very unique thing about having one of the best offensive players, I'd say best football players in college football, winning from the slot like he does, there's not really an ability to bracket him. Like, yeah, you might be able to drop linebackers underneath the inside leverage of him and play a safety over the top of him, but he's always going to be able to find some type of grass. I think what Shannon Dawson and that offensive brainstem did a great job of is like, all right, he might be bracketing, but we're just going to let him find space and allow Carson and him to play where we're poor, right? That's something that they're going to have to build, Mensah and Malachi, this offseason. And that leads me to my second point. I think one of the best things to do nowadays in college football is obviously what you're doing with the quarterbacks, right? Like going out and getting a known commodity out of the transfer portal. But when you do so, you better bring something that he's comfortable with. Most coaching staffs have done it with taking the offensive coordinator as well, right? Diego Pavia was a tremendous success at Vanderbilt, but he's not that if they don't bring that offensive coordinator from New Mexico State with him. Okay, there was a tremendous success story last year. John Mateer goes up and plays great the first 6 weeks before he's hurt. Well, I don't think he's that unless they bring Ben Arbuckle along with him. You brought the biggest security blanket that there is at Duke last year, and that's Cooper Barkey, right? Or Barkey, however you say that name. Like, they were tied to the hip on the criticals. We talked about how great they were on 4th down. Most of that stuff was him trusting 18 to get open, trusting 18 to be a dude. There is a real level of comfort that those 2 built in a matter of, 5 months, 6 months, because you got to remember Mensah didn't get there until like mid-February last year, and those guys went on to do what they did in the ACC a year ago.
In watching your full breakdown of Mensah, he seemed to be quite the smart quarterback in terms of being able to see, even if a defense is disguising its coverage, to be able to kind of use that to his advantage and keep defenses honest, and then manipulating the defense to attack a perceived weakness where they don't have the numbers there. How much does he do pre-snap? This was something that Cam was excellent at. It's really where the season kind of turned a little bit for Carson Beck, and where he started doing some more checks at the line of scrimmage. And I think he showed that his intelligence was a real asset, and Miami went on a run there. What kind of brains are we getting with Darian Mensah?
So I remember watching him. Like, if you go back and watch the Tulane tape, guys, they're doing so much. They're under center out of 12 personnel. They're breaking huddles. They're scattering, flipping formations. Then they got a pre-snap motion, right? So when this type of stuff happens, I know for a fact the lingo in the huddle is exhaustive, right? It's pro style, right? It's full sentences and full jargon. It's not like, hey, we're running red 5, yellow 6 today, and when we don't like that, do one of those, look to the sideline, get a new card. That's not what they were doing at Tulane. That was a full-fledged pro-style offense. It looked a lot like what Shanahan and the whole brainstem in pro football is trying to do with wide zone concepts off of play action, deep boots, and stuff like that. You look over there at Duke, that's not what they did. Duke was a full air raid system, all right? They were trying to run it out of 3x1s, run it out of very spread out sets, and potentially throw it 38 to 40 times a game if they need be, trying to score 40 points because they had an up and down defense last year. So long story short, Mike, he's come from a variety of offenses. I don't know his football brain like I knew Carson's. You could talk to Carson at 18 years old and know that he had a different one. It clicked at a different rate. It sounded different. The way he spoke about football was different. I don't know this individual like that. I know his football like that. His tape says it's pretty quick up top.
One thing I wanted to talk to you about, and this is more general, but because you don't know the personnel next year for Miami necessarily, the guys we got coming in, but really the way it's shaping out is it is going to be wide receiver heavy as far as talent, maybe less so on the tight end front. I mean, we're going to see Seattle on Sunday. We've been talking about on the show doing, a ton of 13 personnel. Miami, when they had Cam Ward, we ran a ton of tight ends out there, kind of unique for an air raid deal. For those who maybe aren't as familiar with the pure air raid and some of the ways it's changed, just like the use of tight ends in the air raid and how it's evolved, because I get the sense, and this is just an untested theory, that we might see Miami go less in terms of having multiple tight ends on the field and maybe more towards a pure old school air raid here.
So in my opinion, the best coordinators are what I call chameleon coordinators. They look at their utensils and they look at their skill sets every year, and they build an offense best to fit those skill sets, right? Like, I hate listening to football coaches who are like, we do what we do. Can the guy come in and fit our system? That's not the job, buddy. I'll pay you $2 million or $1.8 million as a coordinator nowadays, like whatever it is. It's exorbitant amount of money. You better be building it to the best skill sets of our individuals. So yeah, like if y'all are short on big bodies at the tight end position, maybe you are a little bit more 11 based. By the way, down the stretch, you were all year last year. I mean, I didn't see you playing a lot of two tights late in the season anyways. So
we were short
I like coordinators, and your OC Dawson, one of his best friends in the football world, if my memory serves me correct, is Todd Monken.
Yep.
Like these people talk about this. They talk about, well, I don't have it. Like you ask him, like when Monken first got to Georgia, he was this big air raid guy, right? He was known as this Southern Miss guy that threw it 50 times. The year before that, he was at Oklahoma State. Everybody's like, oh, you're going to air raid, right? And he's like, no, that's not what this roster needs. So I'm going to build it for what this roster needs. Shannon Dawson is that to me. I think that's what he looks like. The offense this year looked totally different than it did last year, right? So it will look slightly different this year to accentuate the skill sets that they have.
Man, electric as always, Brooks. Where can the people support all it is that you do? Again, just dynamite YouTube film breakdowns and a master content creator adapting to a new age. Where can people support you?
Yeah, you can find me at the Film Guy Network on YouTube, and I'm at Brooks Austin BA on all social media. I appreciate you guys for having me. Look, I don't listen to a lot of content, but when I have the opportunity to join 30 minutes early, because I ain't got shit going on, I'm going to do it for CanesInSight, because you guys at least make me laugh. I don't give a damn about that round ball that bounces on the hardwood, but y'all made it enjoyable for me. So that was fun.